All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about mastering social media in your dealership. My name is Kyle O'Grady, Senior Marketing Coordinator for Trader Interactive, and I'll be your webinar moderator today. Let's walk through some quick housekeeping before we begin. If you need to make any adjustments to your sound during this presentation, you'll see your audio controls in the webinar control panel. You have the option to toggle between using computer audio or phone call audio if you need to change that, as well as adjust your microphone settings and volume. If you think of any questions throughout the presentation, enter them into the questions section of the control panel, and then when we get to the Q&A portion at the end, I'll be sure to answer your question then. We've also created a Mastering Social Media in Your Dealership guidebook that contains the same information we'll present within this webinar. If you'd like to download the guidebook, click the Handouts dropdown and then click the Adobe file to download the PDF. This will also be available after the webinar if you'd like to access it later. I'd like to introduce you to Simon Heseltine, VP of Audience Growth at Trader Interactive. Simon's team is responsible for driving traffic and branding efforts to Trader Interactive's industry-leading sites. Simon has grown and led diverse award-winning teams of professionals to new levels of success in a variety of highly competitive, fast-paced industries. He's a frequent speaker, trainer, and moderator at conferences around the world on a variety of marketing topics. We're thrilled to have him host today's webinar. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass the mic over to you, Simon.
Thanks very much, Kyle. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be here today to bring you insight and best practices for how you can master social media in your dealership. I promise it's easier than you might think. In this webinar, we're going to take a deep dive into social media and hopefully make this marketing tool an easy and approachable tool you can use to grow your dealership, especially as we navigate our, let's call it a new normal. We'll start with just outlining the significance of social media and why this tool can be an invaluable part of your marketing mix. But because there's so many social platforms out there, we want to go through as many of them as we can so that you can better understand which might be the right channel for you and your dealership. We'll then get into the different kinds of content you can post and how to capture those high quality visuals that actually get engagement. We'll then wrap up by talking about how you manage and monitor the results of your efforts, and as Carl mentioned, the Q&A. All right, so let's get into it. What is the significance of these platforms, and why do they play such a large part in our personal lives and in our businesses? Today, there are over 3.5 billion social media users out there. That's billion with a B. Consumers spend an average of about 3 hours a day on social media. But they're not just on these platforms mindlessly browsing through cat memes and pictures. 54% of social browsers use social media to research products and services. That's more than half of users that are coming to social just to research and interact with brands. Companies' role on social media has grown. To keep up with your competition, it's important that you have an active, engaging presence. Now, did you know that 71% of consumers who've had a positive experience with a brand on social media are likely to recommend the brand to their family and friends? I'm sure you know that if you just read what's on the slide. But since your dealership is your brand, having a strong social presence should be a top priority to you. You could just be one shared post away from your next customer. Now, the pandemic has only accelerated people's use of social media. Recent research shows that 51% of adults within the US are using social media at higher rates during the pandemic. With people more hesitant to just run out to a store or visit a dealership, by presenting you and your brand through social media, this gives consumers a chance to interact with you before even reaching out or stopping by the store. Building awareness is key when it comes to promoting any brand or business. So it's no surprise that almost half of local businesses said they depend on social media to generate that brand awareness. And you know who could be part of that number? Your competition. So give yourself competitive advantage by building your social media presence and using it effectively. This allows you to stay visible and relevant to both returning and new customers. By posting consistently on social media, you have the power to be a recognizable voice in your industry and in your local community, keeping customers coming back for more. So that's great. Social media is important, but that doesn't make the task of setting this up and getting real engagement any easier. You could spend all this time setting up accounts, and if it generates no engagement, well, what's the point? So let's start first with what social media platforms do you want to even use? There are lots out there. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat. Choosing the right social platform to sign your dealership up for can seem overwhelming. So how do you know which are worth your time? Which are going to make your life the easiest? It shouldn't take you an inordinate length of time just to learn how to use a platform, just so you can then begin to post and start engaging with customers. Luckily, there are only a few you should focus on when it comes to generating the most engagement with your consumers. And we're going to take you through the top used platforms by consumers. Now, maybe you think your demographic isn't on social media. So what's the point in trying to figure all of this out? If you think your consumer demographic isn't using social media, think again. According to Forbes.com, 82% of boomers who use the internet have at least one social media account. And as the market continues to grow, it is important to engage younger audiences to fall in love with that RV lifestyle, just like so many people already have. So this breakdown here shows that boomers are using Facebook and YouTube the most. Same goes for Gen X. Gen X differs from the older generation, where Instagram rounds out the top app they use. It shows they're more inclined to be on some of the newer platforms that come out. Millennials, of course, spend more time on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as they're the first generation that grew up as these platforms were becoming relevant. Gen Z is known to have grown up with all social media platforms available to them. So they tend to favor Instagram, YouTube, and very few of them use or have a Facebook account. Depending on what demographic you're targeting, you can choose the marketing mix that makes the most sense to meet these goals. Maybe you're trying to retain the baby boomer, Gen X, and millennial audiences, so you have a strong Facebook page and upload video content onto YouTube. Or are you trying to expand your growing market and target a younger demographic? Then you might want to prioritize Instagram and Facebook as your main platforms. Knowing your goals can help you better understand who your message will reach on these platforms and how you will best be able to engage with them. So, as you saw in the previous slide, Facebook is widely used from baby boomers to millennials. So if you decide to go with this platform, you have a good chance of engaging with all demographics here. You probably already have a personal Facebook account, which will also make it easier for you to know how to post and work the interface. It's a great platform to show off features of a new model. Some behind the scenes looks at your dealership and some new incentives you might be running. You can also share customer testimonials, so other people browsing your page can get to know the experiences that other satisfied consumers have had with you. And be sure to use the algorithm to your advantage. The news feed is built to favor video content over link shares and images. So posting walkthroughs of your units and clips of RVs will perform well. The increase in users reached will be noticeable from the start. Again, I can't really stress enough how important video content is on Facebook. Show off the features of a new model, behind the scenes videos that show what customers can expect in the service department or the finance office. or even a fun team building activity or potluck with the staff. It doesn't have to be complicated. We'll get a little more into high quality content in an upcoming part of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. Basically, know your target audience on this platform and set a cadence as to how often you will interact with them. And when those customers and followers do come into your dealership, don't be afraid to show off. For example, you could do something like a New Faces Friday and highlight someone who came in that week to purchase their dream RV from your dealership. And as with any platform, we want to make sure you're looking at your analytics. The last thing we want is for you to come up with this great strategy and put it to work for it to yield no results. Facebook does have analytics built into the platform to help you understand the reach and engagement on each of your posts, as well as the demographics of the people following your page. Figure out what's working. Figure out what isn't. Double down on what is. Back off on what isn't. Constantly adjust what you're doing so you can get as much of a reach as you possibly can. So, similar to Facebook, YouTube is another platform used across generations. The upper hand that YouTube has is that over other platforms is that it's owned by, well, Google. So not only is it used like a search engine by customers doing their research, but when people Google things, like Thor Motor Coach Compass 24SX or Thor Motor Coach Compass 23TW videos from YouTube that match those results, they show up on the Google results page much more often than video results from other video providers. So it's important to post videos like walkarounds, product reviews, new feature highlights, and comparison videos between makes and models over on YouTube if you want to be found in the search. As with other platforms, YouTube is no different, and you want to develop a cadence and post consistency. When you post videos, you need to be very specific with the keywords and tags you use in your uploads. Optimizing your YouTube uploads for search ranking is almost as important as optimizing your website. Make sure you're using those keywords in the title tag, in the description. If you can build a transcript, put that in there. Again, a consistent theme is to post during peaks in traffic to YouTube. If you post at midnight, you're automatically going to receive less views. And again, these videos do not need to be long drawn out movies. A few minutes or seconds are sometimes all you need to garner views. Videos under 2 minutes generate the most views on YouTube. And the last best practice would be to ensure your videos are optimized for mobile. Don't include a lot of small text or film from too far away. More people are going to be viewing videos on phones, on mobile devices, than are going to be viewing them on desktop devices. So you want them to be able to see all that you are trying to convey in those videos. Then we jump over to Instagram. Instagram is solely media focused. Beautiful and picturesque images and videos of your units, walkarounds of your inventory and photos of your customers or taken by your customers. They're going to be the bread and butter of this platform, especially as we see an uptick in RV renters and buyers due to the pandemic and young families looking to escape the cabin fever and go isolate with their family in an RV. Don't let the beautiful images intimidate you. It's a great platform to leverage your consumers. Ask them to share their content with you or tag you in their posts, and you then feature it on your page. Maybe it's a once a week post of our RVs in action, where you can show a great image of a happy family or short video of them playing in and around the RV. Don't be limited by what you traditionally thought of social media on platforms such as Instagram. And when it comes to Instagram, remember that high quality images are key. Use your staff, consumers old and new, and tell a visual story of the RV lifestyle and what an incredible experience it can be. Take note of what types of posts get the most engagement. If some of your images get a lot of likes, focus on those type of images. Obviously, your customer base likes them. If there are no views on a particular story, again, back off that. They're obviously not interested in that. There is going to be an element of trial and error in this. Your followers are really going to tell you what they want, and you need to make sure that you are listening and adjust as you discover this. Social media, like many marketing tactics, cannot be perfected overnight and does take some time to get your flow right. Use hashtags on your posts to appear in more searches and get discovered by people who don't know about you or your dealership. There are plenty of great free resources to use in your hashtag research. My top three would probably be Hashtagify, Keyhole, and Right Tag. That's R-I-T-E tag. These will help you reach an even broader audience, but don't do daft things like use whatever hashtag is trending right now because you figure you're going to show up for that. You know, people searching for something that's happening halfway around the world aren't going to care about a pretty picture of an RV from your dealership. Make sure you're focusing on hashtags that matter to your audience or your prospective audience. You know, think of an exhausted mum who just wants to get away and is scrolling Instagram #adventure and comes across an image on your page of a happy family spending a weekend in an RV. The power of your consumer's wanderlust is real, and these platforms allow you to use it to your advantage. So, social media is a very visual form of entertainment. People log on to look at images, to watch videos. They want that level of escapism. So I cannot stress this enough. It's important to ensure you share and produce engaging content with and for your audience. Now I know what you're thinking. Content. Sure, I'll just spend all day making sales, maintaining units, making sure my staff is productive, monitoring overhead costs, running an entire dealership, and I will just squeeze in a few extra minutes to write a 1,000 to 1,500 word essay on why someone should buy an RV. But that's not what I'm saying. Let's level set here. Content covers a wide range of media types. This is not a term for one kind, but instead it's an umbrella term for a wide array of other types of media. Articles are only a small portion of what I'm talking about when I'm referring to content. And as we mentioned, going over best practices with our main social media platforms, videos are actually what performs best. So yes, we want you to share articles on best practices, but we also want you to share videos, contests, promotions, post your inventory, offer a giveaway, and post fun polls and questions to your audience. You should have a diverse array of content to post to your audience to continue to keep them engaged. When it does come to written articles, make your content approachable. If you're bored thinking about it, your audience probably will be too. So be creative and share things that you're passionate about so your consumers can share their passion about it too. Remember, you are the RV subject matter expert. Share your expertise with the world. Your consumers will benefit by you simply sharing your industry insights. So a short blurb you come up with about maintenance or caring for your inventory or winterizing will go a long way. Create digestible content that gets straight to the point, and don't be afraid to showcase your units, especially if you see that working. You know, if you can't find the time to put together articles, there are lots of freelance writers out there who can put together content on any topic you might want for your business. It's low cost typically, and the content they create can be shared over and over again, especially if you're doing something along the lines of evergreen content that isn't tied to a particular time and place. For example, that would be winterizing. So here's an example of a few different articles shared on Facebook through our brand RV Trader. One talks about 7 important things to consider in planning your next RV trip, while others talk about avoiding scams, tips for a first-time renter, and RV renovations. These are all topics I know you're experts in. Write out the top reasons, steps, or process, and just expand on each one. Let your customers know when they come to buy a unit from you, they will be dealing with a knowledgeable staff. And always remember to check out your leading OEMs or other industry experts' social media pages and blogs. For example, we always have great content that you can easily share to your pages to help engage the consumers with. Even if you didn't write the original article, your consumers will appreciate knowing that you have your finger on the pulse of the industry. And hey, that's really cheap than you having to create content yourself. Polls are another great example of fun content you can share with your followers. Look at KOA's Facebook page. They came up with a series called Campfire Hot Takes, where they asked their followers to rate something hot or cold. They aren't limited to just RV specific content, but ask, is 90s country music the best country music? And if a meal doesn't have a meat, is it a meal? It's a fun piece of content that their followers can look forward to participating in every week. It's also a great way to do customer research. Asking your followers if you prefer to camp in spring or fall can give you an idea of when you might receive more foot traffic. And these are very easy to set up in both Instagram and Facebook. So another great piece of content you can share would be contests and giveaways. Now, we're not suggesting you give away an actual RV like KOA did. Maybe you want to, up to you. What we're saying is it's really your decision. Go as small doing a contest for reusable camping plates, or go with an RV rental weekend getaway. Host a contest for former customers only, where they have to post a picture and other followers get to vote for the winner. The possibilities are endless, and all of them create a ton of fun content just with one small contest. And again, the prize doesn't even have to be big. You can even partner with local businesses to help put together the prize package. This gives everyone in your community a chance to engage with the customers. Run them as frequently or as infrequently as you see fit. Do make sure, though, that you do read the guidelines on the different social media platforms as to how to run contests on those social media sites. Facebook has some very specific guidelines as to what you can and can't do. And of course, always share your current promotions on your social media pages. People go to social to better know the dealerships and the businesses they're researching and planning to make purchases from. If they know the kind of promos you run, when you run promos and what those offerings look like, they'll get a better understanding of your dealership and if you are the right fit for them. And just like you would share your promotions, make sure you're sharing the actual units you have available to sell. Paint a picture in your post with a description that entices people to look closer and find a little more detail. Such as, take a look at this brand new motorhome that sleeps up to 6 comfortable, has a full kitchen and plenty of room for your kids to run around. By enticing your followers to follow the link to your site, you are driving traffic to your site and ultimately leaving them closer to conversion. While that may not be the unit they actually click through and purchase, they may find other similar units on your site. And of course, one of the most engaging forms of content on all of these platforms is videos. As I mentioned at the beginning, these platforms are designed and favor videos. So it's important to include them in your posting schedule. We're going to show you that video should not be a pain point, but instead an easy and inexpensive way to engage your audience. Now, I know the preconceived notion is it's going to take me too much time to produce, write, and direct an entire video. And to hire a production company to take this task on is going to eat up a huge part of the budget for what could be little return. But when it comes to social media, smartphones have come so far in the last few years that the latest iPhone shoots in 4K. So with a little practice, anyone can create professional looking content for their dealership. And these videos can be so quick and short, no script or directing is needed. The more authentic, the better. Taking the time to learn a few tips and tricks to film on your own is worth it. Let's take a look at how consumers are interacting with video content online. Did you know that half of online activity is spent watching videos? and users spend an average of 6 hours and 48 minutes a week watching videos online. And now people are watching videos even more during COVID-19. And with 85% of internet users in the US consuming video content on social, now is the time to step up your game. Video marketing is going to help you captivate your audience, engage your buyers, and increase your sales through social media. Not only are people dedicating a large amount of time to watching these videos online, but they are retaining the information better than if you were to share a text article. 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual, and visuals are processed 60,000 times faster in the brain than text. So viewers wind up retaining 95% of a message when they watch it in a video compared to about 10% when reading it in text. And shooting and filming these videos is a lot easier than you might think. First, although you think you may need high quality production equipment, again, most phones have more than enough capability to film high quality videos. There's no need for the fancy cameras, but you do want to make sure you're using a newer phone that you know shoots in HD quality. I personally have used an iPhone 10 for years and it's never let me down. If you don't have the newest phone, check with some of your sales staff. If they're into the latest tech, they might even enjoy helping to film some content. Stay steady. If you're going to be walking around the lot showing off inventory, it might sound unorthodox, but a selfie stick does do wonders for those walk around videos. Or if you'd like to level up, there are plenty of budget smartphone stabilizers that would be worth the purchase for you on Amazon or other digital resellers. We'll have those linked in the guidebook, which, as Carl mentioned, is available for download. In many cases, this is your customer's first impression of you, so make it count because you don't get many chances to make a first impression. Take a minute to listen to your surroundings before you hit record. Is it windy? Are you in a busy showroom? Are there kids running around behind you? You want to have as little background noise as possible to keep your words clear and easy to hear. And practice does, in fact, make perfect. It's okay to practice beforehand. Don't feel like if you don't get it in one take, it's not going to be perfect. Take your time with it. Also, try not to use filler words like or like. If you're stumbling on your selling points, start over and just go again. Make your delivery as smooth as you can. If you play these videos back and you would buy from you, that's the goal. With enough practice in front of the camera, the confidence will come naturally and you'll have much more chance of success. By taking some extra time to create these videos, you are connecting with your consumers in a whole new way. It provides an element of sound which can automatically make your customers feel as if they're getting to know you, especially when you leverage this to show off the personalities of you and your sales team. It provides engaging content for your consumers and humanizes your brand. Your goal should be to cultivate relationships with your audience. After you create these videos, you can upload them to your social channels where they can live forever. Even a year from now, future customers will be able to scroll through your videos and get a sense of the personality of your dealership. And as we mentioned before, just because you're putting it on YouTube doesn't mean you can't then share it across Facebook, across Twitter, and so forth. So not only are these videos a great way to show off your dealership's personality, they're also a great way to show off your expertise. Add value to your consumer's RV experience by creating how-to videos on all aspects of buying and owning an RV. This allows you to appeal to both new RVers and to the seasoned RVers. You can also showcase product walkthroughs for all different units you have available. As your consumers start conducting their initial research on a product, you will gain traffic just from those looking for more information on a unit or just even how-tos. And don't be afraid if your video goes on for a few minutes. People who are interested in the new engine, the mechanics, The details of how an RV works will appreciate that in-depth look. Remember, we are still in a time of social distancing. Consumers might not be able to make it to your dealership to listen to you in person go through many of these details. This video that we're showing here is 18 minutes long, but still has over 500,000 views. Sometimes what you're explaining needs a few extra minutes, and that's okay, because if folks are interested in it, they're going to watch it. And it doesn't even have to be RV specific content. Remember, you want to show off some of your dealership's personality. So maybe it's your staff getting together on the latest social distancing dance trend and posting that video. Let your followers know you're up to date on all the current trends. Is someone on your staff musically gifted? Show off their skills. Or like in this GIF, do you have an award-winning mustache in your dealership? It might sound funky, but again, it's getting that personality out there. This dealership sat down and had a mock interview with one of their staff after he won the 2017 contest for the most magnificent mustache. It's cute, it's fun, it's quirky, and it lets your consumers know that this dealership is easygoing and laid back. So as you start to build your strategy, you need to have someone dedicated to your social platforms. Posting with no set plan and consistency in your messaging can lead to mixed messaging on your social pages. You need to have a consistent voice. So to help keep that uniform branding message, there should be one dedicated person. And now, throwing this on someone's desk to take care of sporadically is not necessarily going to work. Your dealership could end up with an identity crisis. I understand as a dealer, you have a million other tasks to take care of on any given day. So dedicating time to a social media strategy can seem daunting when it can be as easy to click and post when you or your staff remember to. But without advanced planning, it's probably going to be a waste of time for you and for your employees. To understand who is the best person to dedicate their time to this, you're going to have to ask yourself a few questions. One, look at what's currently on your plate. Can you add in creating social content? Or can your current marketing manager add this task to their plate, along with all the other hats they're wearing? If your current team doesn't have the bandwidth, do you have the capital available to hire a social media strategist or maybe even a freelancer? Look up the average salary in your area for this position and see if you could do that. You can think about hiring interns for this position, but just bear in mind, this is a direct-to-consumer facing position. Is that something you want to have an intern doing? You could also look to your sales team. Do you have a member of the team who is particularly passionate about social? They might jump at the chance to work at this. They could use this as a lead gen opportunity. Unfortunately, this decision is personal to your dealership, so we can't provide an all-encompassing answer for who makes the most sense in your dealership. What we can tell you is how to get it all started once you know who is going to manage your platforms. And again, you need to start out with that plan. And when you have a plan, it's going to be so much harder to fail. One of the easiest ways to plan is for posts on social media is to create an actual posting schedule or a posting calendar. Followers will look forward to seeing your regular posts. Planning for social media is meant to make life easier. So, how often should you be posting? Well, firstly, pick what you can handle. But keep in mind that while people are at home, they are craving new content. Share sales and promotions you're running during COVID-19. Videos and content you've created or that your users have created, for past customers. Make sure you are ready to be flexible and adjust to new trends that emerge. And although you want to keep a schedule, be sure to remain flexible. especially as things are changing daily. Be ready to let your customers know every update, but don't be stuck so tightly to a schedule that you miss out on authentic opportunities to engage with the audience, especially with viral challenges. Don't miss out on an opportunity like pick your ideal scenario, posts about social distancing when this came up quickly, viral trends like the Dolly Parton challenge, or even taking your own spin at creating a viral meme. From the other side of it, also make sure that if something is happening in the world, something disastrous, something important, something that's taking over the news, pull back on posting. Nobody wants to see your cat meme about RVs when there's something going on that is of greater import to the world. So take advantage of these opportunities and create the relevant content that puts you at the top of the searches at the right time. As a general rule of thumb, don't inundate your followers with too many posts. In fact, that can negatively impact how often you show up. For each social media channel, we recommend probably 1 to 3 posts a week on Facebook, maybe 1 to 2 on LinkedIn, 1 to 2 on Instagram, 1 to 2 videos a month on YouTube. The thing is, these posting volumes, again, are probably going to be different based on your audience. It's going to be something that your social media person is going to have to figure out as you go along. But if you start out with this cadence and see what kind of engagement you get, both on the cadence of the posts and on the types of posts you're putting out there, you can figure out what works best. Be aware of anybody that posts out there an ideal time of day to post. There is no set ideal time of day to post for every business. Again, try different things. See what works for you, for your audience. Of course, we are in these unprecedented times right now. So time of day may be different than when we hopefully at some point get back to normal. During normal times, folks may engage more at lunchtime. They may engage more after work as they are, doing their regular daily work in the office. During these current times, it might be completely different as folks have a little bit more flexibility about their time. Think about the weekends. It shouldn't just be we're posting Monday through Friday. Folks are free on weekends. They're going to be more interested, especially in the RV space. In fact, Sundays seems to be the biggest day for folks doing research on RVs. So make sure you are absolutely pushing content out on Sundays. But again, things can be different for your dealership. Monitor and adjust as you see that engagement happening. So there is a lot that goes into creating a social media persona. Just like you would with your video content, you want your post to convey your dealership's personality. So start to understand what your voice online should be and keep it consistent as you see that resonating with your customers. Maybe you want to be a little bit sassy and funny when replying to the comments, or maybe you just want to comment back just putting emojis in there. Again, some of this is going to depend on the person who's actually doing the social media posting. You've got to think about, are there going to be taboo topics? Are you going to mention things about politics? Or are you going to ensure that nothing is said about politics? Because whatever you say, you're probably going to alienate some folks. Will you only post with positivity? Or will you be open, honest, and transparent with your followers about everything that's going on? Find your voice and ensuring that everything you're putting out to your social media presence is aware of that voice. Everybody that's posting to it knows what the parameters are of what you want to showcase. And of course, as we are in this social distancing world and many of those in-person events are cancelled, conferences are, even when they do come back, they're not necessarily going to be the same. It's important to keep in mind that people are relying on social media for that sense of community. As you build your audience, you're building an audience of like-minded enthusiasts and professionals looking to connect with others on topics that interest them. Maybe they're business professionals looking to see how others are navigating their way through this virus, or professionals looking to take advantage of this new work remote opportunity. Maybe you're the page to connect someone else looking for their first RV and a seasoned RVer who knows their way around the unit. Whoever is managing your accounts should spark these conversations and connections and grow not only your social media following, but your customer base and therefore a community through these efforts. And as you build this community, you build that reputation. 92% of consumers believe recommendations from friends and family over all forms of advertising. The more referrals you can generate to your social pages, the more likely you are to gain trust of new consumers. Encourage customers to leave reviews and share posts tagging you. It's a great way to expand your reach. A post that mentions, bought our first RV at XYZ dealership and we love it, is sometimes all the convincing a follower of theirs may need to also reach out and connect with you. Sharing your posts on how to care for your unit also helps spread awareness of your dealership and the expertise you provide your customers. Retaining your engagement with those customers is also a great way of keeping that presence of mind for your dealership with those RV purchasers. For when they come around again to wanting to rent an RV or purchase another RV, they're going to remember that you have continued to engage with them and provide good quality content for them. So as important as people's close circle is to spreading the awareness of a brand, customers, especially the younger millennial and Gen Z generations, are also quick to trust and value the opinions of complete strangers. As bizarre as that sounds, 90% of consumers read online reviews before visiting a business. And 88% of those consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So it's important that you monitor and encourage positive reviews from your customers. Although also remember that when there are negative reviews, you want to respond to those as well. So it shows that you are actually listening. Of course, sometimes getting these reviews is easier said than done. In order to help jumpstart your reviews, there are some great ways you can incentivize people. First, start with your sales staff who will work closely with customers. At the end of every month, offer a prize for the sales rep who gets the most reviews that mentions their names in them. You can also go directly to your customers. Offer a free tank of gas for anyone that leaves a review for your business. Also, just trust your sales process. Create an experience so wonderfully easy and enjoyable that people just feel compelled to leave that great review for your business. Have you ever had an interaction with a business that left you feeling like you wanted to shout about it from the roof? A lot of people feel that and take the time to put that in reviews to broadcast that themselves. So make sure to check your notifications, comments, and private messages regularly, and make sure to respond as soon as you see a message. Keep in mind that Facebook shows how quickly you respond directly on your business page. And again, those first impressions are everything on social media. If someone leaves a positive review, feel free to respond with a thank you or even just a smiley face. And of course, for every 10 great reviews you get, there's going to be that one bad review that appears to tarnish your reputation. Sometimes, they're going to be out of your control. Plenty of people leave a business on good terms only for that business owner to see that they were left a one-star review. At that point, you might think it's too late, but it's not. Don't be afraid to answer that person right away. See if there's a way you can rectify what went wrong. Many times, you can save a bad review with your response. And if there's no saving it, you can bury that bad review with an influx of good reviews to push that one further back. As you build and create this social media strategy, keep in mind what your ultimate goal is. Determine what your upfront goals are to be and know how to measure them. Social is meant to be fun and creative, but putting all that work in and not yielding successful results can be a waste of, again, your time and your staff's time. If your goal is awareness of your brand, focus on how far your message is spreading. Measure volume, reach, and exposure when looking at your performance. If your goal is engagement with your audience, take note of how many people are participating and how often. Measure factors like shares, comments, replies, and participants. If your ultimate goal is to drive traffic back to your website, ensure you're sharing links and use URL share clicks and conversions to measure if you're reaching your goals. After you've been at your social media strategy for a few months, determine what your benchmarks are. If you're looking for a benchmark stat that is hard to determine or give generalized numbers, I can say that a good conversion rate back to your website would be, let's say, 1%. Again, this varies on many different factors, but a lot of times that traffic ultimately comes back later via direct traffic or organic search when they're ready to buy, because they know your name from the branding you have created around your dealership. And finally, don't let all of this hard work go to waste. Watch your views, engagements, and the messages you receive to your pages. If you use Google Analytics to monitor your site traffic, the best way to see how these videos drive return is by tagging the URLs you share in your post with tracking codes. Google offers a free URL campaign builder to help you structure and track these different efforts so you can see how each of these videos is working. Also, make sure to routinely review your social media analytics, just like you would your dealership reporting, to see if your social media strategy needs to be adjusted. If you've set specific goals for your social media channels, like growing your follower count or increasing inquiries by a certain percentage, use reporting to see how the results are stacking up against them. Are you succeeding? Are your followers engaging with you? And as you look at your share numbers, engagement levels, conversion rates, and more, take the time to also get to know your audience better. Social media is a hugely undervalued resource for getting to know your customers. Yet it's giving you a direct pathway to what they are truly interested in. Some key audience demographics you can see through social are your audience's gender and age, location, interests, household income, consumer behavior, specific time of day they're on the platform, and more. All of this can help you to formulate a better overall business strategy if you know these general parameters around your audience. Social media is worth investing in, and it is worth dedicating time to learn and understand to create a branding message with far reach. To help your branding go even further, there are many products available to help you extend your reach. So I hope a lot of the tips and tricks we've shared today have been enlightening and maybe something you haven't thought to try yet on your social pages. But I want to take these last few minutes to go over other products you can try and add into your mix if you feel as though you have exhausted all your organic social options at this point. One of the best parts about social media is how cost-effective your efforts can be. Your monthly spend can be $100 and you can ensure your messaging reaches beyond just your followers. If you want to reach outside of your followers, you can boost or sponsor posts and campaigns. Additionally, you can target very specific audiences when boosting and sponsoring. If your dealership is having a sale or promotion, boost the post and increase your advertising reach. A little can go a long way. So if you have a promotion you're running or incentive, just throw $5 or $10 at a boost and it'll reach people who don't follow you, but are similar in demographic to your audience base. This also just helps to ensure that your current followers see your post by helping to include it at the top of their feeds. Another helpful tool you can use to create a more dynamic social media strategy is Facebook Business Manager. This is a place you can host multiple business accounts, billing information, pixels, and data sources. You can set up customer conversions and audience insights here that you wouldn't have access to through a regular Facebook account. Another great feature of this is that it lets you grant access and control over which employees can access and edit your accounts. This can be helpful if you decide to have multiple people contributing to the overall message, or if you have multiple dealership accounts. Another feature you gain access to through Facebook Business Manager is creating custom audiences. And by creating these custom audiences through Facebook Business Manager, you can then take advantage of Facebook Lookalike audiences. Facebook Lookalike audiences, let's say I want my message to reach people like the profiles that have already acted like this custom audience I have created. This feature can only be used with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. It works by taking a pre-existing list you already have, let's say your current email or consumer list, and cross-references it to Facebook and searches for other profiles similar to those emails you uploaded. You can also create these lists with your business manager by separating those that interact with certain types of videos. For example, this would be a great tool if you were trying to grow your rental business. You can start to collect the emails of those that interact with your rental posts, and from there create lookalike audiences and expand your reach out to others who might be interested in renting, especially in these current times of social distancing. The caveat is that these emails you upload will need to be linked to Facebook accounts. If it's someone's work email and their Facebook is registered to a personal email, you're not going to see anything. Regardless, it's a great tool to utilize in expanding your reach. Social retargeting is another great tool you can utilize to reach consumers who may be interested in your inventory. Although this is a tool that does require more spend. Retargeting is a form of online advertising that's based on a consumer's previous internet actions or online behavior. You'll know it more likely as, why is this ad following me around everywhere? Retargeting is valuable because unlike traditional advertising that displays to a broad audience, retargeting allows you to focus your ad spend on consumers you know already have some degree of interest in your product or service. For example, this happens when you're on a site like Home Depot, then you go to another site and you see ads for the tool you were looking at Home Depot. There are different types of these retargeting ads depending on what your goal is. Third parties can help you set these up based on what your goal is with these ads. And of course, if all of this seems too overwhelming for you to take on in your own dealership, you might want to factor in the benefits of having a third-party site to manage your platform. Of course, there are major advantages to going at it alone. There's no cost to post. You can develop your own flow slowly and organically. But again, sometimes that burden is too great, and you just don't have the staff available to dedicate the time to it. Third parties ensure you develop a consistent posting schedule, help you not to feel overwhelmed, and saves your staff time. They will most likely include data and analytics in their reporting and packaging, so even that's taken care of. The downside, of course, is that they're expensive in most cases. They will still require you to create the content to post if they're not a local freelancer who can help you on site. And there can just be several challenges associated with that. So in conclusion, social media has become an important part of the buying process, with consumers heavily relying on companies' social pages to get a sense of who this business is and what it will be like working with them. The pandemic has only accelerated this reliance, with people having to choose when and how many times they can leave the house every week. This is also very popular among the millennial audience, if this is who you're trying to target. And to reach this audience on social, you don't have to have a profile on every platform available. Find the one or few that you can manage and that your customers are actively using as well. Then share with them content. And again, that doesn't just include articles, but fun polls, contests, promotions, to create that level of engagement with them. Also, be sure to share video, because viewers retain that 95% of a message when they watch it on a video, compared to 10% of when reading it on text. And lastly, remember, you do need to have a dedicated member of your team that's responsible for monitoring and posting to ensure the voice of your dealership, the messaging from your dealership is consistent. So I hope you've enjoyed today's overview of social media and feel like it's more attainable within your dealership today. We like to practice what we preach, so feel free to follow on our social media channels if you want to get more tips and tricks of the trade. We also share influencer and industry content that you could repost to your own page as well. If you're interested in learning more about reaching customers through social media and other marketing channels during and hopefully soon after COVID-19, we have created virtual retailing resource centers. These resource centers include guides, trend reports, videos, and articles, all aiming to help you and your dealership cope with these turbulent times. Visit rvtradermediakit.com to learn more. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Kyle for the Q&A portion. I think we have about 4 or 5 minutes left.
All right, thanks so much, Simon. Remember, if you haven't had a chance to enter into a question into the question section, now's your chance to do so. So I'll give everyone a few seconds. I know we're right at 12, so I want to kind of wrap this up. So it looks like the first we have in is, of all the social platforms, which is the best for a dealership to be on?
Well, as I mentioned at the very end there, it's the best one to be on is the one that your customers are on, or your potential customers are on. You know, if they're on Facebook, then great, be on Facebook. If they're on Twitter, be on Twitter. If they're elsewhere, be there. But also make sure that while you may not decide to use Pinterest, you may not decide to use Instagram right now, get the handle for your dealership so that somebody else, especially if you have a disgruntled customer who decides to go out there and register a social handle under your dealership's name, if you've got it, they can't do that. So make sure you have that and leave it fallow. Make sure also that even if you have that one person that's running your social media, make sure that somewhere your usernames and passwords are stored centrally. So if they are hit by a bus or leave the company tomorrow, that you are not locked out of your social media accounts. Because believe me, when you get locked out of a Twitter account, it is exceptionally difficult to get Twitter to reopen that for you. And you may have to start again from scratch. Pretty much the same goes for Facebook. So make sure that you are keeping those centrally stored somewhere that, you know, management at least has access to.
That's great advice. Our next question is, to boost a Facebook post, do you have to leave a credit card on file with them?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% on that. I don't have the actual answer for that. We can get that answer.
Okay. And our next one is, how do hashtags work?
So the way with hashtags, I mean, basically you put them into your posts. Again, they need to be kind of relevant to your post. So if you are, you know, putting something out there about, you know, escaping in an RV, you know, you might just have, you know, adventures. You may have vacation as a hashtag. You may have RVs as a hashtag. People will search by hashtag, especially if a hashtag starts trending. But even if a hashtag isn't trending, folks will put hashtags in, they will search for them, and they will see all the posts, or at least the most relevant posts that have that hashtag in there. And then they can actually scroll through those posts and they can discover you that way. So they don't even have to know your dealership's handle or that your dealership even exists. They can just search by that hashtag and find you that way. And again, it's just a matter of putting that pound sign in front.
Awesome. All right. Well, those are all the questions we received. We'll let everyone get out here. I just want to say thank you again for being part of this webinar. Feel free to reach out to us at marketing@traderinteractive.com. We're happy to hear feedback on this webinar and other topics you would like us to cover, answer any additional questions you have surrounding social media and social strategy during these times and also beyond. So thanks for tuning in, and stay safe and take care.
Thank you all.